guys, so we're back on this job again this morning for Mark. First things first, I'm going to use some dirty water from yesterday. It's a bit of a mess in here. We need to get tidied up, and this is a painted surface, so I'm just going to nip this wall off. It's a little bit awkward in the sense we've got these valves to navigate around, look. We've got these screws for the radiator, so this needs trimming off because this used to be plastered in here. This room has been replastered, I've realised. So look, all this sort of stuff needs trimming off to make life easier. So that's what we're going to get on with first, while Shay comes through here and finishes off dubbing out these ceilings where the old coving was taken off. So now we're into dry lining. So for some reason that other room had been replastered at some point. We're a little bit stuck for this morning because we're waiting for the electrician. He's got to move that socket that was there from the other side, and he needs to move it over into here. So we're waiting for him to turn up before we can get this wall tacked and pretty much release everything, because with that wall not being done or tacked, we can't do this wall, or this wall. So the only wall we can really get on with is this if we want to set anything today, or we can get the reveals done. So yeah, just need the electrician to turn up. Okay, if I come out there and actually go into this one, although we moved a load of stuff into here yesterday so we could do the other room, I think nothing has to change on this wall. So everything's there where it needs to be. So we could possibly get this one tacked and get going in here. Again, look, damage to the plasterboard. So yeah, a bit messing around. Got to clear the room out, but like I say, that is why I chose to just go on day work with this job, because that takes the stress of having these things to deal with out of the equation. Builder's happy, he gets a decent day's work and we get a decent day's money, and nobody is stressing because things aren't ready, or we got to move this, we got to move that. So yeah, it's just one of those, isn't it? We'll get through it. It's bread and butter money. So in here we have a collection from splash buckets. So a wash out bucket that drill gets washed out in. That was created yesterday, that dirty water, and I have put just a little bit of it in here to knock up the multi for this wall because it's on that painted surface. Now this is the area where using dirty water like that from a previous day or something starts getting a little bit dangerous. This is where sometimes you might be better off going for the additives that you can get, because you get a much more regulated and reliable understanding of how quick it's going to go. Sometimes that dirty water can be so potent, you overcook it and it'll start going off on you. So, and well, the other thing is, if you kept that bucket there for a week and tried using that dirty water, it'd have no effect at all, because it's completely dead. The setting process is completely gone. You might as well be putting mud into your multi-finish. So yeah, that is where you need to be careful. If you're like knocking back the gauge that you've just set up, if you've knocked up, you've put your first coat on, you've got a little bit left over, you add to that, that is a little bit more reliable, because that's kind of like fresh dirty water, if you like. That's getting to be old dirty water, and you need to be careful with that. Okay, so this plaster is picking up. I can feel it's picking up inside the bucket. We've got that all on completely with a 13-inch by 5 trail. There's a few trail marks in it, but I'm probably going to switch up now to my 20. Just use that as a rule and flatten this out for the first coat. But yeah, it's picking up pretty quick. So look at these trail marks I've left in there, throwing it on real quick because it's going off quick with the 13-inch. Look at all this under here because of all these screws, etc., making life very difficult because we can't get a clean sweep at it. So that's what it looks like right now. Flatten it with the 20, see what it looks like then. Here we go then, that is what it looks like now after we've gone across it with the 20-inch trowel. I'm in the light, I know. You can see it looks much more agreeable. Now it's not smooth, you see where the light's picking up. This is still sopping wet, so there's nothing we can do to it for the moment. Don't touch it, don't play with it. Let it pick up what we've got a general flatness going on, which is why I love using that 20-inch carbon steel trowel, because it's kind of like using a feather edge on floating, you know, you can get such a big span, and you know, it really does, and it was really working well on this particular wall because it's quite bendy and all over the place where the coding was and that, so we've really had to kind of shape up this first coat and really get it flattened, like rolling off floating. That's pretty much what we've done here, so no point in touching it again. Keep going over it, keep going over it. If you upset the structure of the plaster, the depth of the coat, you'll upset the granules in it. We don't want to do that. Let this pick up, and then we'll knock up another tight coat and get that over the top. So I've just come into this room. I had Hawk for all of that finish left, and I noticed that this board is bouncing up and down. So rather than chuck that finish away, we'll stick it behind this bit of board as a dot and dab and start holding that together rather than chuck it. So in here, look up on the ceiling, we've got this line we need to come down to, but there's quite a lot of damage to this plasterboard because I'm assuming this wall has moved over. It used to be part of the other room, and where they've taken the coving off, they've had some sort of lever in there, and this is what's caused the damage. So these are going to need kind of foaming up or bonding up and then scrimming up. These ones aren't so bad. I can feel that there's fluff above it, so there is some resistance there. There's something we can get onto. Whereas this one, I think we're going to have to patch up with a fresh bit of plasterboard. So a little bit of messing around up there before we can do anything. Another thing to note in here, if you did watch the previous video, if you look, so what's happened here, we've got, you see them there, hard clinker blocks, and this is plasterboard that's been dot and dabbed over those really hard clinker blocks. Now the skirting has been removed, but when they've done the skirting original, they've used these really rock hard hilty nails which have gone through the plasterboard. You see there's bounce in the plasterboard because there's no dot and dabs down the bottom there, and then they've whacked this straight through the skirting board and it's gone through into the clinker blocks, again causing this issue. So I can't really get any leverage because I'm just going to rip that plasterboard to pieces trying to get it out, and you can see that they're all along the bottom. So when they've pinged the skirting board off, these nails have preferred to remain in because they're in the concrete blocks, and they've pulled the skirting board and the nails have stayed in, and the nails preferred to go through the skirting board and stay in the wall rather than come off with the skirting board. So if you've got a little grinder, you can grind these off. Other than that, maybe try and bend it round, but these are rock hard, and that is an issue getting these out, quite time consuming. If you do bang them round flat, then you are going to damage the plasterboard, and also they do have a tendency to snap and ping off, and you might get one in the eye. So look, I have bent this round, there's the nail there, and I've created this hole by continuously hitting it with a hammer, and then we're losing the nail in there, and obviously this hole is going to need making good. There we go, look, I was just bending that one round and it actually snapped. So that's the damage we've caused there. That's back flush. I was hoping that one was going to snap off. The last two just snapped quite nicely, but that one put up a fight. Okay, so coming back to this hole, I'm just looking around. I can't actually get up in the loft because they haven't cut the loft hatch yet, and they've put this in so you can't get to it, I don't think. You can see up through there, look, there's the... I'm not sure. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is, I've found some old bits of timber. I'm going to get this across here, I'm going to get another one in here. Obviously the timber comes to about here and to about here. I'm going to get some drywall screws up through here and pull it down to the back of the board, and then cut a bit of plasterboard to fill this hole, and then we'll bond it as well and scrim the life out of it. Okay, so we've got two bits of wood up there in that way I just described, and they're up there quite solid. Cut the bits of wood that I just found in the skip. And now I'm going to cut this bit of board by freehand with a standing knife and cut it to that shape. I could have cut this off square to fit a lot better, but I just wasn't in the mood.
Got to let that PVA pick up.
Okay. Filled, good enough. Now, there's plenty of different ways you can do this. You can put foam up there, but I know the materials I've got that are going to be knocked up, going to be knocking up bonding anyway. As like to sort out a lot of the holes and stuff in here. We need to PVA the ceiling, I can scrim it, it's fine. So when I knock up the bonding, I'm going to push it up through these holes, because it looks like, you know, there's enough grab that the bonding will stay up there. So I'm going to get some bonding up in these holes. Then I'm going to put some scrim over the top of them and probably staple the scrim up there, get that all pretty flat, so treat all this the same way. And then once it's got the scrim over it, the whole lot's going to get PVA'd, and probably before we even set this ceiling, when we knock up, I'm probably going to knock up some multi-finish to come down this chase and get a coat of multi-finish over here as well. So just for convenience, that's the materials, that's the tools, that's the process that's going on in other places. So it's not that much difficult to, you know, just apply the same materials we're using elsewhere to fix and remedy those holes right there. All the time that we've been messing around over there doing that, this first coat has picked up quite nicely and is ready to take a nice tight second coat of multi-finish. This has just been laid down with a second coat. Now I used the 13 by 5 inch trowel to put the second coat on, and one thing you will notice, because I haven't turned back round to flatten this in yet, but you will notice there's much less trowel marks from the initial putting on than there was in the first coat. And the reason for that is because we scrutinised with that 20 by 5 carbon steel trowel and used it as a rule to really flatten things off, and that's allowed us to put the second coat, the laying down coat, on really nicely and regulated, and just things get easier and easier and easier. If you can get it as flat as you can right from the outset, then you're eliminating a lot of the problems and you're not chasing them. If we didn't flatten that in, then we'll still have ripples in it, and the second laying down coat will be thinner and thicker, and we'll still have trail marks. We're getting rid of them right from the beginning. Yeah, okay, so Shay's started to dub this area out in here. We haven't scrimmed it up just yet, but we can see where it's sagging in certain areas. So what we're doing is, whilst the gear's wet, we're noticing that out, cutting some scrim and just pushing that into the wet plaster so it's flush and then doing its job. Right, so the electrician has turned up and he's given us the go-ahead to get that wall tacked, so that gives us this whole room, but we are not here tomorrow, so we're going to get as much of it done as we can, and then the electrician can carry on doing some other bits and pieces, and hopefully start exposing some more work for us to plaster when we probably get back here on Thursday. So there is a bit of a plan evolving. In the meanwhile, let's have a look at this plan. I've seen drawings before, obviously. This is a very, very big one, and I'm quite impressed with it. Look, he's even drawn little people walking around in the house. Look, this guy must be enjoying his job. Look at that, it's quite good. I'm impressed. So this guy's going into the walk-in closet. Look, he is going from the toilet, and he's it's a walk closet. He's going in. I know he's coming out. It looks like. What else is going on? Somebody else. I'm not sure. He might be coming out the closet. Yeah, he's going down the corridor, and there's somebody in the bedroom down here as well. It looks like he needs to go into the closet. Looks like this wall has got lining paper on it. Is it all the way up?
Yeah, but it's not that bad, it's up.
We're gonna have to take that off. Okay, so we have discovered lining paper is over this complete wall, and it's coming off rather easily. Not only that, paint. That's the original plasterboard there. The paint has not adhered to that very well in places. Again, this loose stuff ideally needs to come off. Detective work, look, we can see where the original ceiling rose was. So this is the original plasterboard here, and we can see that that has been painted, so it looks like that would have been dry lined, and at some point this ceiling has been skimmed over because that paint is underneath the skim coat. And we can probably see it here as well. Let's see where they drilled the new holes. See the layers. Judging by this fixing that has been holding up the curtain pole, I can only assume their curtains must have been made out of lead. Okay, next thing is to get some PVA over these painted surfaces. Ceiling, this wall, this wall. So let's just have a little recap of what we've been up to today, because the time seems to be really disappearing. So we've got that last wall set, and we've moved bits into here because now this room can be kept as storage. We tacked this wall. We've done all this, filled those holes, PVA'd this, removed that paper, and then we finished the bonding in here. So we've got a load of prep done in here. That socket is done now, so this wall can now be plasterboarded, and then this room will be ready as well. Right, because the time is getting on, it's 20 to 1. All this messing around and stuff, it's really disappeared on us. So what we're going to do is we're just going to knock up and get this ceiling on, I think, and then Shay is going to get on and do some prepping up, put some beads up in here, put some beads up in there, maybe tack that. So yeah, 20 to 1, time is getting on, so we don't want to be too late knocking up. What we are probably going to be using, because we got some sachets from Easy Mix, extra time. We've got the half-time sachets, so I believe it's 2 sachets per bag of multi-finish. This is probably just over a bag, so we're going to put 2 sachets in there, and hopefully it will speed up time. You won't be here too late travelling up in the middle of the night. So here we go, here's our sachets of half-time. 1 sachet for every 5.5 litres of water. Approximately half a bag of plaster, since the plaster is 25 kg. And it goes. Ping! It's on. Just flew across it real quick with the 20 by 5 carbon steel trowel. We've got that left on the hook and that left in the bucket, which will probably be okay to knock back into the second coat to lay everything down. Remember, I did knock it up a little bit chubby, I always do, because there was some undulations around the edges and stuff, so I wanted a little bit thicker so it holds itself together. And remember, we put the half time in there as well, so I'll jump straight back on it. with the 20 by 5 carbon steel trowel and eliminate a lot of these trowel marks and air bubbles before that half time picks up. Okay, so it looks like we have got something mildly interesting and worth talking about in this video all of a sudden. So you remember earlier we was taking note and noticed that this ceiling had been plastered before. Now when I knocked up my PVA and I PVA'd the area, the ceiling, that wall over here and the wall directly behind me, I did knock it up a little bit thinner. Not by design, just by accident. I thought that'd be right, so just a tiny bit thin, it's fine. So as I was applying it to the ceiling, I thought, well, maybe it might be a bit too thin, or it's that brand of PVA, as I'm not too sure if I've used it that much, but it did seem to be pulling in quite quickly, and I was watching it, and then time was getting on and we got the half time. So the PVA is the same as this, and this PVA is still wet, see? But the one on the ceiling is gone off. Now what I think is happening is that has been replastered at some point because the joint and taping must have been quite bad, and then it's had a thin coat of emulsion over it. So there is still quite a bit of suction left in that ceiling because of that previous coat of plaster, and that's pulling it in a little bit quicker. You might think it was because of the half time, but that you tend to find with those additives, if you don't have half time in, the plaster will go off like gradually, you can feel it picking up. With the half times and the additives, you find there doesn't seem to be any difference, and then like maybe right towards the end, then it shoots off, so it kind of gives you time to get things under control and flat before it decides to do its thing and set in the way that it suggests. But yeah, I'm glad we only knocked up for the ceiling on this one. I mean, it's still in a comfortable position, we can get back on it, but I'm glad I didn't knock up and put another wall on as well. And then the suction from this previous coat, pulling it off and sending it a little bit too fast for what I've knocked up, and finding myself in a little bit of trouble. But we're not in trouble, it's okay. And I'm quite happy it's doing it because we've got it on quite late, and I had to pull my finger out and show that we've done some work today because we were prepping and everything. So I'm glad it is pulling in, and we're just going to stick with this ceiling and get some prep up and done around the rest of the job just to fill our time towards the end of the day. Okay, so it was like 20 to 1 when we started thinking about chucking this ceiling on. It's now 1:30. And we're kind of ready to get the second coat on this, I think, so that's what I'm going to do now, and knock back this plaster into the next mix and put the laying down coat over the whole thing, which is normally knocked up a little bit wetter and goes on quite a bit thinner. So whatever the amount of plaster was that you put the ceiling on with, so if it took one bag, ideally it normally takes about half a bag to put the second coat on and lay it down and trowel it up. Bit of water in there, we're going to use the drill to mix that round before we add any paper. So we have got half time in there, we've got suction from the original ceiling, and we're knocking back plaster. So let's see what happens, shall we?
Hi.
As if by magic, the second coat has just gone on. And as you can see, it's gone on quite agreeably, with less trowel marks, because we did spend the time flattening it in with that 20 by 5 carbon steel trowel, and that's the only trowel that has touched that ceiling so far. So yeah, it's still quite comfortable. Nothing's really picking up or going off so that we're stressing or anything. A little bit of material left over on the hawk as well, but rather than throw it away, I can lose it in some of these deeper areas. There's a couple of little bits up here that can start bringing out a little bit. Fighting these chases, so yeah, there's somewhere for it to go. Basically what I've got to do now is just sit with this and see it home. I keep my eye on it because we don't know exactly what the timings are going to be like. It might seem like it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Then because of that half time mix in there, it might suddenly fly off on us. So I'm going to jump back up, give it a flatten, see how it's going, and then decide whether to fill some holes or get straight back on it again. Who knows at this point? Let's find out. Time is 2 and I've just been across it with a wet brush. It is definitely pulling in a little bit, but it's due to the suction more than the half time or anything, or that gear being knocked back, because this is still quite workable. Stiffen up a little bit, but that's quite handy because it's going to be able to fill up these little holes where I'm going to lose it. A little bit there, a little bit in the bucket. We'll find a home for it. There we go.
You done with this bucket?
Yeah, they washed out. So there you go, it went in some of those deep holes, and Shay was sticking up the beads, or cutting the beads, so we used it to stick the beads as well. Okay, 5 minutes past 3, and the ceiling is down. Need to clean these spotlights out, but Shay has packed all the tools away because we're somewhere else tomorrow. So this is the tool we're using today. It's a old radiator valve on a bit of micro bore pipe. Let's see how that does, shall we? Okay. It's doing a lovely job of it. There we go, look at that. Might need 2 hands though. Ta-da! There we go then, that's what happened today. So, not really plastering for beginners, I'd say, because I didn't really go into one about anything for beginners, to be honest with you. But if you are a beginner, it's probably a good idea not to do what I did on that ceiling there to speed things up. That was kind of like a bit of a gamble, and basically to get that under control, as soon as I got to the end of the ceiling, I had to start again because I had to keep up with it. So if you like, I kind of timed it perfectly. As I didn't waste any time walking around waiting for it to pick up or anything like that. As soon as I was down one end, it was time to start back at the beginning again. But if you do find yourself in a situation where you are losing the set, where you are falling behind and you're having to trowel up and you can't get the ripples out and you're filling with fat and you're going to fight it, I've seen grown men brought to tears trying to catch up with a ceiling or wall or something that's just gone far too far on them, and then they just like fight and really open a trowel up and they're like, oh, fall over with exhaustion and just declare that you're going to give up plastering and go and get another job or do something like that. I mean, I have done that back in the day when I was a lot younger. But in my experience is, if you do find yourself in that situation where you're losing it, there's nothing stopping you putting a 3rd coat on there. Just reset all your levels and give yourself an easier time. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? You might be an hour late home or something like that. But at the end of the day, if you do put 2 coats on it and then like you're losing it, you've pushed your luck, it's going too far on you, get the 3rd coat on it. You're not starting right from the beginning again. You might put an extra hour, like I say, on the actual set time, but put a tight coat over it all. You'll get a better quality. You'll be able to have more energy to get it under control. Do that. Put another coat over it. Put a 3rd coat over it. Save yourself a lot of time and not so much more time. But you know what? You probably wouldn't be putting that much more time on it, because the amount of time you'll be spending trying to scrape it, you're better off just putting another coat over it and just taking things easy and making it a better quality ceiling. Yes, mate. So there we go. That is what happened. What do you want? Stop nicking the sweets. That's what happened today at work. And I forgot to mention at the end, do you know what? Like and subscribe and all that stuff. The channel is called Plaster Master Smurf 74, and there is also a Facebook group under the same title, Plaster Master Smurf 74. If you want to give me some advice or you want some advice, come over to the Facebook group. There's a few of us on there now. It's much more engaging place rather than the comments just on the YouTube videos. So yeah, if you want to know anything or whatever, come over there. And I get to see what you look like from your profile picture and all that stuff as well. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, if you got to the end of this one. We are in Teddington tomorrow doing a couple of ceilings, so we'll probably record that. Yeah, alright, catch you on the next video.